Just hitting random notes anywhere. I'm playing around with ideas. This isn't a song.
And that's the beauty of improvising, because sometimes you can surprise yourself and you come up with some really cool ideas. Like, to me, I get real excited about that because that, to me, sounds cool. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Greg. So today I like to try to do something a little bit different. I want to talk about how I write music, how I assemble it, the different steps or phases to writing music. I'll start it in a program like Sibelius, just roughing it in with notes and the rough idea. No dynamics, no phrasings, no expression marks, no slurs or anything like that. It's just rough ideas. I'm copying and pasting, I'm moving things, I'm trying experiments, I'm experimenting with different things. Actually, we'll start with a piece of music that looks like what you've been seeing, and it will eventually end up looking like this. You have your tempo marking, you have your expression marks, dynamics, slurs, phrase markings. All the pedaling is in, a little bit of stress right here. So let's get started. Okay, welcome guys. So this is step one, just coming up with an idea. I was working on this piece, just playing with ideas, and it just centers around two chords, a C major 7 chord and an F major 7 chord. The motif is set up where the right hand is going to copy what the left hand does. So the left hand is just simply outlining that C major 7 chord. Very basic. Then the right hand would just repeat the same thing. Now there's some twists and turns. You have to kind of juxtapose it to get it to fit. Slowly it would just sound something like... The next step would be to develop that little motif. So the next section, I just go up to A minor, to G major, to F major, to B flat major. And then that repeats. So we're talking about different ways to break up 4 chords. Rhythmically is what comes to mind right away. So obviously we can do the obvious. You know, instead of just playing the chords, you can arpeggiate them. That would be one way. Then you can start varying the different chords. You can outline that. It doesn't have to be all in a row. That kind of sounds muddy. Let's open it up a little bit now. Sometimes leading a note from a previous chord gives it that little bit of rub, minor second, major second rubs.
which I love that kind of a sound. Rhythmically, you could come up with different little ostinato. Like, for example, measure 29. I have these 4/16, 8 followed by 3/8, and I have this pattern repeating in a couple sections of the measure. And it's just to give it a little bit of a different flair. So it's kind of like arpeggiating, but it's... And there we used the note from the one from before. There's just different ways that you can break up those 4 chords to make it interesting. It almost has a tonal, kind of ethereal improv feel to it, which is ironic because most of the stuff I write is atonal. Well, it goes in and out of tonality. It goes in and out of tonality. And I like to start with just a simple idea. This is kind of my grassroots from being a songwriter for 25 years. It's so easy to incorporate that kind of thing because basically a song could be 3 chords or less, and you can develop a whole song around it, which is what the whole structure of this beginnings of this piece is designed to do. From there, it'll develop and wander into the atonal. Now, I know some of you like to make fun of atonal music.
So Merle, we got 30 minutes of studio time left. Have you got anything that's ready to go?
Yeah, I got one on atonal music.
Anything else?
Nope.
All right, let's give it a listen.
I dedicate this song to my father. My dad was a composer, modern was his style. His music always made you think, it never made you smile. He wrote for chamber orchestra, now and then for voice. Tonality in Daddy's world was just another choice. Just give me some of that old atonal music, it lingers in my ears. Schoenberg and Albenberg were the genre's pioneers. Keep your Bach and Chopin, they're melodic and passé. Give me some of that old atonal music, like Daddy used to play. Give him some, Allison. That's right.
And it's kind of like having a beer. It doesn't taste too good the first time you tried it as a kid. And let's admit, we probably all did that at one time.
You're proud of yourself.
I'll drink that.
Who didn't get a beer?
You can.
But if you just dare to taste this beer of atonality, it will grow on you.
By sight, emotion is for simple folk. Art should be arcane. Some compositions feed the heart. My daddy's fed the brain. Give me some of that old atonal music.
The harmonic progressions of atonal music have to be acquired, like the taste of beer. You just don't like it coming out of the gate. You kind of got to acquire a taste for it. And it happens over time. I'm off topic a little bit. We're talking about different ways to come up with ideas, play around with ideas, and that's kind of what I would do. You know, I'm talking about the compositional tools that are available in Sibelius. Retrograde, for example, you know, playing, that would be in one direction, or you could simply click a button and tell it to play it backwards, which would sound like... That's all it is. And it can do that with different things. It could say, take each note and rotate it to the right by 1. So instead of it starting with the bottom note, it'll start with this note. And then go to the next one. You could tell it to randomize pitches. You could tell it to pitch map on a mode. make it Mixolydian, make it Lydian, make it Locarian. You could, there's so many different things tools that you could use with the program, which I find handy. It's not a crutch. It's not something that I use, but it's definitely something as a composer who went to school for this stuff is going to save me a lot of time. And plus it'll take me into different directions that I might not have otherwise went. So that's the healthy kind of mindset that I like to use when approaching AI software and tools. I want to use it to enhance, to let it be an extension of my arm or my mind or my creativity. Also, if you start straying from the notes in this tonality, you can improvise into the tonality. Very quickly, you can make it atonal by keeping something constant and drifting in and out of it. I particularly like to see how far I can push it.
I should probably clarify how far I can push it. And what I mean is I'm constantly listening, and it's got to sound okay with your ear. It's got to sound somewhat like music. I don't like the random noise and poking fun at atonal music, because to me the pitch maps and the Schoenberg and that kind of stuff really pushed it way further than I would ever push it. I'm not talking about like no music at all, like where somebody wrote a piece called 4 minutes and 59 seconds or something, where they close the piano lid and they just sit there and look at their clock. And
I miss Igor Stravinsky, my dad, and old John Cage.
supposedly the noise and commotion from the audience was the music. That's pushing it, you know. Piece for 2 radios, double bass and stripper. I mean, come on, that's pushing it. It's got to be within the realm of the plausible, and that could be a whole video in itself. How far I can let it drift away from tonality, but yet still sound musical, still sound pleasing to a trained ear or an acquired ear. That's kind of what I mean. I just felt the need to clarify that, because I know not all of you like beer.
Give me some of that old atonal music like my daddy used to write. It was hard to sing if you were first impossible by sight.
I mean, not only harmonically drifting into the atonal, but also rhythmically. So far, just tone. I'm not doing anything different other than I'm just hitting random notes anywhere.
And that's the beauty of improvising, because sometimes you can surprise yourself and you come up with some really cool ideas. Like, to me, I get real excited about that because that, to me, sounds cool.
I'm playing around with ideas. This isn't a song. This is just playing around with ideas to come up with a structured piece. I said song, I want to clarify, and I said that somewhere else too. It's just 25 years of songwriting is ingrained in my brain. If it has lyrics, it's a song. If it doesn't have lyrics, it's a piece. I had a professor once tell me that. The other thing that I found rhythmically is when you create 2 different patterns, like the 16ths and the 8th, against something else like... Even some of this other material, it sounds fresh and new because all we did was just modulate. these octaves outlined with a chord. Kind of creates another flair, another way to come up with ideas. And that's all that this little segment is about, is talking about AI. This is a 12-page, 12-minute piece. This is not something that I can go into depth in a short video like this.
So there's that part of the development. Then the second part of this juxtaposes that material with a little bit of a different rhythmic accent, starting on D minor. And the 4 chords here, D minor, F major, A minor, G major. Very simple structure, but it's what you do with it. It almost has a little bit of an ethereal improv feel to it. Material and repeats with a couple little twists and bends, but that's just the opening section of the song. This maybe constitutes the first few minutes of this 11.5-minute piece. Another way to break up and create interest and break up a chord would be to use inversion. So for example, if we had a chord A minor, if you take the note on the bottom and put it up top, it's still A minor, but now it's in first inversion. You take the note on the bottom of that chord and play it on top. That's second inversion. It's still A minor. And you can create that going up or coming down. Or it could even be with passing tones, which is kind of what I'm doing at the end of this first section.
Okay, good morning. And this is now step 2 of how I compose music. As you can see, it doesn't look like there's much been done, but there has, and I'm going to scroll through here and show you. Before I do that, I just want to mention, this constitutes 2 full days of editing from where I was before to where we are now. So, all right, so there's a little bit of expression marking, and I have a repeat sign in here. If we move, I have 5 systems per page. As you can see already, this is starting to look like new material, and it's more structured, more organized, and it follows here. There's a key change here. Notice all these raw intendos, a tempo, raw intendo, a tempo. This is a technique that I use to
We've known each other many years, but this is the first time you ever came to me for counsel, for help.
naturally slow down and speed up at the end and beginning of the lines. I will simply just highlight these at the very end. I'll highlight them all, and then I'll just hit Shift Command H, and that'll hide them. And you won't see them, but they'll be embedded into. So I find that this is easy to do at this stage. You know, some of these now, I got some new material here. I have it marked out. You can see there's some definitive things happening where it's shaping, lines are coming in. This is just a visual, but I can give you a sneak peek into one section of this right here. I'm going to start this from this Primoso, more motion, and this will just give you an idea of how much editing had to have taken place. Okay, and And that was all I wanted to show you. That's step 2. Next step will be to print a copy of this and then close this program out and go into Pro Tools and start the tedious task of editing all of the pedal lines and velocities. So I will see you on the next one. Print 2 sides. We want to go to this player. This is the brother. Step 4, working in Pro Tools. Get a quick screen record going. Okay, so here we're looking at the velocity data. And if I just lasso this stuff, these bring up the volume. And let's just sample that. Obviously I want that to be louder, but not that loud. So I'm going to undo that. And just, it's little subtle things, but this is what I mean about it. It's just so easy to create a crescendo or a decrescendo. Like I want this to be loud right here. Okay, so I want this to create a crescendo where it goes up. And then I'm going to create a decrescendo. So you come over here to this velocity screen, and I'm just taking this from, let's just say 77% to 99%. I do that so that I don't have to look at the keypad. I can just punch quickly, because all that's going to do is just get us somewhere in the range of starting soft and working up. But I want it to start somewhere about in here. And then I want to take this group and go the exact opposite. So I'll come up here and just type in 99 to 77. And that's going to simulate. And what I like about it is you can make these a smooth by percentage. So it's going to keep all of the notes velocities. See, if you look at the pack, here's all your low notes, and that's what they would look like in the pack. So you can very easily take the left hand and lower it so that the right hand is louder, or vice versa. To me, it doesn't sound right. I need to put it back in the pack, and then this note is a little too loud. I'm going to just bring it down. So I can grab them this way and drag them down, because if you see, it's going to be hard to highlight these 3, then these 2, and then these 2. But here it gives you 2 options, so you can see which ones are straggling and sticking up louder than they should. For example, these are obviously too loud, and you can see that they're darker, darker, darker. So you can easily do them that way. The other way is if you wanted to bring out the top melody line, you could highlight it and then just kind of pull them up out of the pack. So that's okay. Yeah, that's the one we want. And that's basically what I'm doing with the velocity data. This lane down here is the sustain pedal data. So that's telling me, on the pedal, if something, let's just say, for example, if I take this pedal out and take this pedal out and take this pedal out, this is going to be real muddy sounding. All the notes are going to just sustain together, and it's not going to sound... So
this allows you to control the sustain pedal data as well. So let me just undo that, what we just did. And sometimes I don't want the gap to be that wide. I might narrow the gap. And sometimes if I want a section to be staccato, I'll just take them out. So let's listen to this now in context. I still don't like these. These two notes are just too loud. I'm gonna pull them down. Much better. Okay. And I'm actually hearing something where it should be. I think I like that note better. Okay, so when I do make a change like that, because most of this stuff is already written, I don't like to change it, I'll come over here. So I just make a little note like that. And then this way I'll remember when I go back to do the, because I haven't even begun to mark this thing up. I'm just going through and okay, so we're at the final step in Pro Tools now. As you can see, all of this MIDI data is set from the beginning of the timeline over to the end of the timeline. All the pedal data is squished in here at the bottom. All the velocity data is squished right here. And as you can see here, this is the loudest point of the song. And right here is the softest point of the song. This would be like medium loud to medium soft. It gets a little bit and comes back down. And so these dynamics are all reflected in this timeline. Here are all our note data. This is MIDI data. This is not audio yet. We need to convert this to audio. And the way that we do that in Pro Tools is that we need to bounce this mix. So first thing you do is you come up here and close out the MIDI editor. And then that leaves us with this mix editor in Pro Tools. You're looking at 3 tracks here. This first track right here is the MIDI data, and I'm showing the velocities. I can hide the velocities. I'm closing that. You have this master bus here, which all of this data is running through all of these plugins that are on this master bus. And then through that, it comes into this third print track. This is where the audio is going to be built and made up from. So quickly, the plugs that I have on here, I have some real tape saturation to give it an analog feel. I have a pro limiter. This is probably the most important one. And if I've been taught correctly, I have the inputs and outputs set so that it's going to give me the max volume without compressing and squishing all of the dynamic range out of the piano performance. This will also allow it not to clip or peak, which you can easily do if you have the levels set a little too high. Over here is a multiband processor, which lets us just set thresholds for different frequency limits. And again, if I'm using the phrasing right, it's just, you just want to see this tickle, this line where the audio levels are just going to kind of come up to that level. Nothing drastic, everything subtle. And then of course, a multiband EQ, which will let you pick out anywhere from the lows to the mids to the highs. If there's a frequency it's a culprit, you can grab it, very easily from here. You can find the frequency very easily by clicking and dragging it. You also have the fine tuning of this stuff. You can find that frequency and just pull it out if it's a culprit. In this case, everything seems to be okay with this particular one. I don't need it, but I have it set up on this bus, on this master channel, that allows me to quickly access it should I need it. So from here, it's a pretty simple process. If I hit Command 5, that opens up this little memory dialog box. And as you see, it's got just 2 markers. You can create a marker from right here. There's all these things that you can create. I have one at the beginning called head. I have one over here at the end called tail. So it's just, you click on one or the other, and then you hit the shift, and then you click the other. And then that lights it all up. And by using P and semicolon, I can scroll up and down in the lanes for these tracks. So I wanted to scroll it down till my print track. In order to hear the performance, I want to arm that, and I want to arm the record. And at this point, I just hit the number 3, and it's going to start the bounce. So I will see you on the other end of this bounce. Okay, so from here, we're just going to rename the track that we just bounced, save it to a destination folder by hitting Shift-Command-K. That'll export it into a folder of my choosing. I just set that all up, and that's done. Then you want to close out Pro Tools and save that to the desktop folder. And then from there, we want to airdrop it over to the laptop, which is what we're doing now. So I just want to clarify what we just did with this bounce. This created an audio file of the piano performance that was created with MIDI. This audio is mainly going to be used when I publish the collection of Nocturnes as a whole, so that you are hearing the best quality audio. Okay, welcome back to the channel. I'm Greg. It's Sunday morning. It's a little bit after 6 on the 23rd of February. This is now day 4 editing, and I just wanted to do a little quick comparison from page 51 here to 52. As you can see, this looks more like a sheet of music the way it would be published. You have all the slur markings in. It just really shows the flow between, staccato notes and legato notes. It shows the pedalings are in. It's got the dynamics, some of the expression marks. This looks like a piece of music. Over here, I got 2 pages left to do, and I just kind of wanted to do a before after. This is what it looked like prior to doing all of this. So I'm just going to go ahead and work for a little bit and focus on the screen here and just kind of see how easy this is to implement these changes. So there's 2 ways to do a slur. One is you could just click on the note and hit S on the keypad, and that starts the slur. And then by just simply hitting the space bar, you can advance it 1 note at a time. By hitting Shift and then the space bar, you can go back. Of course, if you don't want it, you can delete it. Another way to do it, let's say I know that this entire line from here to here is a slur. I could just highlight the whole measure and hit S, and it would do that. So didn't want to do that. I'm going to hit the whole measure. I'm going to highlight this. Now this is da ba 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 ba, and here's what that rhythm sounds like. So I want to notate that. So those are going to be da ba 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 ba. See, actually, I might want to do this. Da 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 ba 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 ba. Da 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 da. So I know that these come in groups of second half of the measure, first half of the measure. And as you can see, I could have had this slur all one and had this slur all one, but I broke it into 2 separate ones because I just think it looks better on the page. It just, I don't know. There's something aesthetically that's pleasing to the eye. So with very little effort, I just choose to do that. So we'll, hang on a second. Let's just go to this note. We can click on it and then start the remainder of the slur. See, and a performer will know to interpret this as all one line. They're going to know. Same thing here. Now the stems are all facing down, so I know that between this note and this note, it should all be under one slur. It won't. The same thing with this. So you know, it's 2 or 3 steps either direction. It doesn't really matter. I click on this and just do it the old-fashioned way. Oh, 1 too many. Okay, this starts a new section here. This is one section of music. This is another section. Here's what this sounds like. so it's in 4/4 common time, but it's subdivided in the first 2 beats and the second 2 beats. So basically what I did to interpret this is to show it as this broken up. And I'm going to do that the same here. One more. Now this one can go either way in my opinion. But since this is like question, question, and then a longer answer, that's how I'm going to interpret these antecedent and consequent phrases. And then we go back, da, 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 and we're going to go back to halves again. So this time the rhythms look slightly different, but this is tedious, but you can see that this can make rather quick work of things. Now here's one I'm going to break it up, because I just like the way that looks. Da, da, and then this one should just be all one. Okay, in the left hand, let me just finish these. These ones here. What I should do, and I'm saying this as a reminder to myself in post, to maybe do this in time lapse so that it would go much quicker. Now I know that this, because I've listened to this before, I've listened to this a lot. This is all one long phrase. Okay, so that takes care of the right hand. So we're still stuck up here. I gotta finish these. I suppose this could have been. See, this should overlap. Let me just listen for a second. Okay, so now when you take a look at page 51 and 52, they look more like a sheet of music. This should come up a little bit, maybe. I haven't put the pedalings, well, some of the pedalings are in. I got these rows here in. I don't have any pedal marks anywhere else. It's usually one of the last things that I'll do is go back through. Another thing that I can do is come up here to View, and then click on Hidden Objects, and it'll show me where all of the pedalings are, all these clusters of just chaos. Sibelius is pedaling marks. So you have C127, and those are pedal downs, and here's one that says C64, that's a pedal off. So these all, what this is me during the performance doing a bunch of half pedaling to clean the phrases up as I'm playing it. If you notice when a piano player plays, if you ever notice their foot and they're playing the pedal, it isn't just down, up, down, up. When a composer gives you pedaling or an editor gives you pedalings in a piece of music, that's just reference. But it's really up to the performer to hear those subtle differences, and it might be a series of pedals to achieve a passage for clarity. Sometimes you want no pedal, and that's a whole nother video, but for what I'm trying to explain here is that when you see a lot of this gibberish and all of this chaos up here, that's just a bunch of half pedals. When you're playing one chord, I may pump the piano, the sustain pedal several times to get that damper to calm those strings down. Because essentially that's what it's doing. When you're pushing down on the pedal, it's lifting a damper up off of the string, allowing it to resonate. And if you have too much cluster from the chords before or previous, it muddies up the waters, so to speak. So if you ever watch a piano player play, notice their feet. They're not just playing, they're constantly pumping and working that pedal and allowing the ear and the foot to there's a correlation between the ear and the foot, a very close correlation between the ear and the foot. And with the ear and hoof, I'm going to leave this video, but I just wanted to bring that to your attention. This is what it's more looking like, and I got one more page to go, so I'll see you on step 7. Well, I guess it's over before it's over. This is step 7. I printed out the full score of this 12-page document, Nocturne number 7. As you can see, it's completely in published form. Now for the final step would be to make this into a score video. Okay guys, well that's it. The next logical step would be to make this into a score video, so look for that. I hope you all enjoyed this. If you did, I appreciate that. If you didn't, well, I still appreciate you anyway. So I guess until then, I'll see you on the next one.
Keep your Brahms and Chopin, they're melodic and passe. Give me some of that old atonal music like Daddy used to play. I miss you, Daddy.